Good Sunday morning, everybody. Well, when things get messy, owning a disinfecting company sounds like a good idea. But if you find yourself in a legal mess, you probably wish you had nothing to do with that company. So while some stains can be scrubbed away, other stains tend to linger. Earlier this month, the Department of Justice handed down an indictment against the Webb County Sheriff and his assistant chief, Alejandro Gutierrez. In the 16-page indictment, federal prosecutors allege Cuellar and two of his deputies, Gutierrez and Rick Rodriguez, opened a for-profit disinfecting business during the COVID-19 pandemic. Between 2020 and 2022, the indictment lays out a scheme to defraud the Webb County Sheriff's Office when the business entered into service agreements despite not having any employees or supplies of their own. During that time, the federal government alleges that the company used county sheriff's employees to run its day-to-day operations while they were both on and off the clock with the county. If convicted, both Cuellar and Gutierrez could face up to 10 years in prison, while Cuellar could face another 10 years for money laundering charge. Meanwhile, Rodriguez has previously pled guilty and is awaiting sentencing in March. Now, in response to the indictment, Sheriff Cuellar provided a statement on the charges, maintaining his innocence, highlighting his history as a law enforcement officer, and insisting he knows the difference between right and wrong. Sheriff Cuellar also defending his record, emphasizing that he has served with integrity and honor throughout the years, adding that his commitment to the community has not changed. And at Commissioner's Court, county officials clarified what they can do and what they cannot.
Under Texas law, the sheriff is a constitutionally elected official. A federal indictment by itself does not remove the sheriff from office, does not suspend his authority, and does not give this court the power to supervise, discipline, or manage the sheriff or the sheriff's office.
I think because you have a lot of people speculating and a lot of people calling in and asking to be appointed and there's nothing for us to do at this point. So we just wanted to get, I think he wanted to get that out there and say, look, there's nothing we're doing at this point until he has his day in court or decides to retire or resign or whatever else it may be, then there's nothing even to talk about.
Well, that's where we begin this morning's discussion. Joining us this morning, no strangers to the show. We've got former City of Laredo Mayor Pete Saenz and former Webb County Democratic Party Chair Sergio Mora, who's coming to us over Zoom. They are joined by KGNS General Manager Luis Villarreal. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Sergio. Mayor, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Mindy, Luis, Sergio, virtually.
Virtually, that's right. So. This was a bombshell. We, got word of this here in the media, and of course, we read the indictment. And Mayor, I'll start off with you. You are an attorney by trade, and of course, a former mayor. What do you think about all of this?
Well, to begin with, obviously, these people are presumed innocent, until proven guilty. So with that in mind, I think we need to, continue the conversation.
So Gutierrez did plead guilty, didn't he?
Rodriguez pled guilty.
Rodriguez pled guilty.
So,
I think he's going to be sentenced sometime in March, mid-March, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, with that caveat, I think, we can say at the very minimum, it creates a scandal. And of course, scandals are no strangers to Webb County and the city of Laredo. Unfortunately, it's very sad. But the indictment is a formal the most highest formal accusation that you can have, short of being found guilty. But the sad thing is that it creates public scandal.
Sure.
And especially cases like this or others as well. In general, speaking generally, where it's public corruption, fraud, things of that nature, and what is at stake is public trust. I mean, truly, it's on the balance as well, and that's where it becomes difficult. But yet, a trial needs to happen, and only a verdict of innocence will weaken the scandal, or at least try to correct it as much as possible. But scandals are hard to control.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I guess first and foremost, we have a system in place, and under our system, you are presumed innocent until proven otherwise, right? And so we cannot make a decision for them. Perception is whatever it is, but at the end of the day, we need to follow the process and see where this leads. But but I have to agree with the mayor that it's another one, right, Sergio? Another blow of public trust that goes, okay, so what's happening here? So,
Yeah.
I went ahead and read the indictment, and it's really good reading. I was amazed just by the brazenness. First of all, the scheme uh, took a while. It was over a period of 1 or 2 years, and sheriff's employees were used to go disinfect these places, um, restaurants, transportation companies, and then finally they got this $500,000 contract with UISD, while Rodriguez, one of the accused who has pled guilty, was a board member. And literally they got the contract 3 days after the contract was announced. They got the contract. They outbid everybody else. But what blew my mind is that it was completely done by Webb County Sheriff's Office employees on the clock, getting paid by the county to go clean while the profits were going to the accused. And also, they ordered over $64,000 worth of equipment that the county also paid. So I think that those issues need to be examined by the county in terms of like, man, how could this happen? How did they not realize that there were employees spending their whole work days at Taco Palenques disinfecting? Like, I'm sure word gets around. But no, it did. Nothing came of it till people started complaining at UISD, and they weren't complaining about that. They were complaining about why did the contract go to a sitting board member, which
Right.
right.
is outrageous in itself.
Yeah. Well, no, I was just going to say that we covered that story many times and questioned why was the contract given to a sitting board member. I mean, that was a question that we asked the UISD board on multiple occasions in trying to report the news. And we were always told that that contract and the situation was sent to their legal attorneys and that it was cleared that they were able to do it, but it just didn't pass the smell test. And sometimes you just have to, I don't care if it legally the attorneys say it's okay, the perception that you're awarding $500,000 to your fellow person sitting right there is just, it's just not right, because people are going to question that.
And this
sure
is
enough,
something
that's what
that I encountered as well as a sitting mayor. You know, this culture of arrogance. You know,
I can get I can do it.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
For some reason, this culture, they think they're invisible, invincible as well.
Absolutely.
And that's got to be corrected. And it boils down to, you know, the electorate really electing people of high integrity, high morals. Get your morals straight, and you will get a good candidate.
Yeah.
But of course, people do change, and this is where I guess.
I want to go back a little bit to the opinion, or not the opinion, the clarification that was done during Commissioner Court about what the court can or cannot do as a result of the indictment. And it is very clear that the court itself has no recourse or remedy, and they need to see this thing through, right? I do want to ask, and I don't know the answer, and I don't know if Sergio or Mayor, you have anything that could answer this, but at some point these purchases and these allocations of dollars had to be approved. Do they have to be approved outside of the sheriff's office, or does it stop at the sheriff's office?
My understanding is that we do have an independent county auditor, and he's basically directed or hired, I think, by the
judges.
Board, by the judges, yeah,
Right.
which is the auditor's board of some sort, and it's controlled by the judges. So maybe we need to enhance those powers where, you know, maybe unannounced audits can be had at any time, and just as long as the employees know that they're subject to these spot, you know, audits, you know, maybe that's a deterrent. So we need to prevent and deter more so. And if the auditor doesn't have that right, maybe a consideration should be that he should be given that right to unannounced have audits.
Especially with a sizable budget, depending on the department, right? I mean, and you're talking about, Sergio, you were talking about 60 somewhat $1,000 of equipment that was purchased.
4,000.
You know, and it's like, okay, that's not a bleep. I mean, that, you know, I mean, it's like,
That's
okay,
sizable,
so it's a
yeah.
sizable purchase.
But also the county commissioners court can control the budget. You know, they control budgets. So if there's any suspicions, they can cut the budget and then, you know, raise issues, raise questions. But more so, I think the independent auditor, you know, has more of a purview, more of a control there, and hopefully we can give them more powers to exercise a more complete and with depth audits.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that we're all waiting on pins and needles to see what the defense is going to come out and say, because like we all read in that indictment, it sounds incredulous that, you know, did any of the Webb County employees question why they were being asked to go disinfect private businesses while on the clock? Were they not suspicious about that?
Keep in mind, whistleblowers, and I know they're afraid sometimes, but there is
Right.
protections for whistleblowers as well.
That's a good
Maybe a
point.
hotline for anonymous calls of some sort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So we need to, you know, promulgate, you know, some of these, you know, maybe they're out there, but they're not being pushed. Yearly ethics training,
Yeah,
you know, would help
right,
for all.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You know,
I
could
guess
they
you could
have
have-
shown up, because they showed up, allegedly, they showed up in units, in sheriff deputy units. So, you know, you're absolutely right about the training. Perhaps they just didn't realize that that was not right
Hey,
to do.
my boss is sending me to do this. I'm going to go do it, right?
Exactly.
And that's precisely
Exactly.
the culture that
Exactly.
that
That's
may
the
exist.
issue.
We're not saying that it's existing, but there's a
Well, yeah, that
the
is
perception, yeah,
correct, you
that,
know.
that the culture is there, and they're through patronage, you know, they
And loyalty to your boss, you know, of
Yeah.
course you're going to say, yeah,
And
absolutely.
you may not know
But-
that you're doing anything wrong.
Exactly.
Right.
Necessarily.
Exactly.
or you're threatened too.
Or you're
job,
threatened,
yeah.
your job is threatened or whatever. So
Yeah.
it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this plays out.
Right. Sergio, can you tell us a little bit about, you know, as the former Webb County Democratic chair, we've gotten calls into the newsroom as to why previous elected officials had to be removed. And, you know, specifically, we received a call from Commissioner Mike Montemayor's family members asking, why does the sheriff get to stay in office and he needed to be removed? And I just wanted to see if you could clarify that for our viewers out there.
I'm not too sure if the county commissioners can vote to remove one of their own or not. I don't remember the specifics of Montemayor's case, but I also heard that he had pled guilty.
That's what we
I'm
heard
not
too.
sure if that's true or not. But the sheriff is completely independent, and he doesn't fall under the purview of the commissioner's court. But I mean, the thing is, it's that people are saying, should he be removed? Also, like, these are very serious charges against him, and
But he's got a
we've
right to
gotten the
defend
point-
himself. He's got a right to defend himself and to clear his name too. And so there are some people that are saying,
Of course.
well, he should step down. It's like, well, wait a second. You can't just,
Yeah.
you know, do that. He's got a right to go through the motions and see
Yeah.
where this leads.
Yeah, because like the mayor said, innocent until
proven
proven
guilty.
guilty. Okay,
Absolutely.
Well, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're just getting started, of course. We're going to take a look at how we got here and what's next as those key court dates approach. Stay with us. Welcome back, everyone. Well, the trial dates may be closer than they appear. According to the federal docket, jury selection is set for March the 3rd in federal court in McAllen, Texas. That was after all Laredo area judges recused themselves from the case. Now, as part of his special conditions of release, Sheriff Guayar is barred from contact with co-defendants and witnesses and faces restrictions of the use of official power or resources as the case does move forward. Guayar's final pretrial hearing is set for February the 26th before Chief Judge Randy Kane, again in the Valley. Now, after being indicted for allegedly pocketing about $175,000, the indictment lays out a detailed timeline of events. with the purchase of the cleaning supplies in January of 2020 to a $500,000 contract with United ISD. You can find the full breakdown of that timeline on our website at kgns.tv. Now, our panel has stuck around with us for this part of the conversation. Let's talk a little bit about the timeline. Mayor, as an attorney, the quickness of this, is that surprising for you?
Keep in mind, I didn't practice criminal law, but
That's correct.
But I guess it's up to the defense counsel to object to that. But they've been said, and if they've objected, the judge probably dispensed with that, and the trial dates have been set already. So maybe it's a moot point. But I think they're ready. Both sides apparently are ready to pursue a trial.
Right. Now, Rick Rodriguez already pled guilty. He's going to be sentenced already in March, and maybe that had something to do with it because he's already pled guilty. Perhaps he's already said what he needs to say, and they're ready to move forward very quickly.
Correct.
So.
No, it should get interesting. But I guess a relief for the community and also, I guess, for the defendants.
But you don't want it lingering there for a long time, either. I mean, again, going back to the whole perception of, people in power and potential for shenanigans. I mean, it's not healthy. We're in the middle of an election. It's just, you hear this, you hear this locally, you hear it federally, you hear it at the state level. I mean, it's another blow to the citizens of our country that find it hard to trust in our elected officials because of things like this. So I think speed is key to make sure that, hey, either let's find, exactly what happened and clear him, or not, but let's do it as quickly as possible so that we can move on and restore some of the faith.
And as a community too, I think we need to learn from lessons. These are really lessons, but of course we've been having lessons for.
Doesn't seem like we're learning anything.
Correct, but we need to be honest with you. So basically, how do you prevent this? How do you deter this? And maybe one consideration should be term limits too. I know people in power tend to get comfortable. It's a presumption, and create these cultures. Maybe term limits. 2 terms and you're out, and don't allow.
It is a topic that comes up many times. As Sergio, you've been involved in these discussions for a long time. There is a certain need for consistency and for steadiness that I think too short of a time period does not allow for certain things to happen. And so I am of the opinion that term limits are necessary at every level, but it needs to be considered carefully because sometimes it takes time for, depending on the office,
right,
to have the actual power or the actual ability to move things in place. But it is, I mean, I've never been an elected official.
Personally speaking, 8 years is more than enough.
More than enough. But do you think that even people with the best of intentions, after so many years in office, the lines get blurred? Is it fair to say that sometimes the system just absorbs people, and that's another reason why you should have term limits?
Absolutely. I think it's for the protection of the candidate as well, or the office holder. Because there's a tendency of getting too comfortable. You create that little culture, and then again going on presumptions here, and then you feel like you're invincible, or you become you're not seen, at least in your own eyes, but of course other people are seeing exactly what you're doing.
So you start becoming
invincible and invincible.
Yeah.
And that's what defines a career politician, right? Or a career is like, okay, so this is your job, and so all of a sudden it becomes more important to protect your job than to do your job.
Yeah, and it goes back to public service. If you want to truly be a public servant, go in, do your job, and get out.
Yeah.
Sergio,
let's talk a little bit about, you've got your fingerprint and your pulse on state and federal elections. What are some of the things that you hear at the Capitol and in the national level as far as term limits and, some of the corruption in some of these cases that are making their way at that level?
Well, the issue with term limits is that the people who would be affected by term limits are the ones that vote whether term limits should be instituted or not, and they obviously are not going to vote for that. So don't hold your breath on that one. But I mean, our whole system of government is based on checks and balances, specifically to prevent abuses like this. And I mean, I was shocked by just the comfortableness that this was carried out, where the meetings took place, the casual, reckless use of employees and county resources. I mean, what's the mayor brought up the county auditor? I mean, what's the point of a county auditor if not to catch things like this? And then inside the department, aren't there also officials that are in charge of looking at the money going in and money going out? There needs to be a serious discussion on why those choke points failed, why the county auditor didn't realize anything was going on, why the county commissioners and the judge's office didn't hear of anything. I mean, there obviously were plenty of people that knew about this scheme. And also because it seems that everybody was just comfortable with it. I mean, is this the only scheme going on? And how do we prevent this from happening in the future?
And if in fact they are convicted and county funds were expended, for wrong reasons, those money should be reimbursed. Those people should be held accountable, not necessarily the principals, but whoever was complicit. But then again, that's the county auditor and the local judges.
And some of these funds, according to the indictment, came from the FEMA grants. Everyone was getting a lot of grants from FEMA to help disinfect during that time. It was, of course, during COVID, 2020, 2021. Fear was, crazy running amok, and we were getting a lot of funding back then, and of course we reported on that at very high levels. So these are allegedly some of the funds that were being used to purchase the disinfection and the misters and all of that. So that in itself, because they were monies that were coming in to protect people who were so afraid at that time, that just it just worsens the perception of what they were doing.
In this case or another case, and I can point to a specific example that hits home. If you recall, our offices here were significantly impacted by COVID. We had some tragedies and some loss of life. And the first contract that I signed to disinfect our building, I had to pay $3,500 for somebody to come in for 3 hours and disinfect.
Wow.
By the end of the pandemic, the same service was charging me $250.
Wow.
So
Wow.
To illustrate that, at the beginning, it was like, I'll pay whatever needs to be paid, and there's a fear
factor.
that you need to do it. And to take advantage of
That's yes.
as a private citizen or as an entrepreneur, okay, maybe. You must deal with your own morals and ethics, but as a government entity or as an elected official, I think the bar needs to be higher.
Yeah, absolutely. Instead of preying on the fear that we were all living way back then. It was scary times, and we were willing to pay. How much did we pay for a 95 N95 mask? I mean, if they charged us $50 for a mask, we'd pay it just because we were scared.
Right.
So you're absolutely right about that.
And it also illustrates, this is all in the overall scheme of abuse and things. This may be a drop in the bucket as to all of the abuses that resulted of this pandemic and all the things, but that's probably a discussion for another show. But there is I think it adds to the anger that one feels is like you took advantage of fear to do something, and I'm not specifically talking about this case, but in general, and that adds to it.
There was an opportunity for abuse.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the one thing that our panelists, including Sergio, cannot stop thinking about. Stay with us. So we're out of time. We don't have time for the one thing, but I just want to mention that tomorrow, February the 2nd, is the last day that you can register to vote in the primary. So make sure you go out and register. That's all the time we have, but we'll see you right back here for another episode of Beyond the Headlines next Sunday. Have a fantastic week.